correspondence, 1981, 82, a lot of those are well, we call it internal talks of the things. Who's coming, who's going, who said what, who wrote this letter to who. They're reading letters out to Guru Maharaj from different devotees in ISKCON who've wanted to take his association and his connection. And sometimes they're reading out these letters to him. Usually that would be Sripad Goswami Maharaj or Sagar Maharaj at that time. It was Akshayananda Maharaj at that time. And then other things like, because at that time there's a lot of different things going on. So Guru Maharaj is asking, what, they had a meeting in Mayapur, what did they say? What did they tell about me and stuff like that? Yeah. So they're telling. So obviously those things, we're not putting those things, but there's some parts of it you can select where it's philosophical talks, So usually a lot of the talks, they start like that. Someone is coming, asking, that type of thing. And then they get that part finished, and then there's a pause. And then Guru Maharaj will spontaneously start talking according to what he's thinking about, or could be something leading on from that, what they've said, So this is this one from 1984, and it says, so much energy is given for the national cause, so many atomic bombs, so many soldiers ready to devote their life for the national interest. But this mortal prosperity, what does it mean? How little it is. It is trifling, it is nothing. And the eternal wealth, that is real good, good for eternity. So how much energy should we collect for that? To do so much good for all, to distribute such a high degree of welfare to one and all, so they may get back their own home, to take all the misguided people back to their sweet, sweet home. That sort of call, he says that sort of call came in his mind. I don't know who he's referring to there, unless he's talking about Mahaprabhu. All these vagabonds, they should be taken to their own home and guardian. Oh, vagabond is like somebody loitering in the street. Kind of thing, yeah, like a person, somebody who's like homeless and lost and that kind of thing. They should all be taken to their home. They are wandering like so many beasts in the jungle without knowing what is good or what is bad, and always engaged in some sort of competition and biting one another. And they say they are civilized. Jungle animals are biting one another and all trying to live at the cost of each other. And human beings, they are following the same course, the same program, and more efficiently, fighting with other nations. What is this? It is a civilized jungle. Then civilization loses its meaning. Civil means gentle. What one does individually, that competition, exploitation, if one does it as a group, as a body, as a nation, then is that gentleness? Does that make it civilization? So you say, in the national interest, we're doing, this is our national program, but it's just the same thing. That doesn't make it civilized just because it's under the guise of, for the benefit of the nation. And they're proud of doing that kind of activity as a body, as a nation. They're so foolish that they think that by doing so in the name of the nation, then everything, whatever they do, becomes purified. To think that if the jungle habits can be performed in the name of the nation, then they are justified. A fool's dictionary. What is real help? A half-truth is more dangerous than falsehood. So a half-help, misguided help, that is more dangerous. It is to direct one's attention to the wrong thing. And he's giving an example. Vidashray nashtigavad bodha yodhi. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It means, it's talking about Shankara's philosophy. Though apparently under the shelter of the Vedas, Shankara's teaching actually gives the same atheistic conclusions as Buddhism. Vedashraya Nastik Vad. It means it's showing itself to be Vedic, or under the shelter of the Vedic teachings, but actually it's Nastika Vad. It means atheism. Is that they say Ashtik and Nastik in India. We used to go, when I was with the D.T. Nandan, we used to go in the offices. Sometimes we used to just like wind them up a little bit, just to kind of get their blood circulating a little bit. After a long day in the office, and we'd say, "You're Ashtik or Nashtik?" And they say, "Oh, Ashtik," say like that. The swastika is an auspicious symbol. Astika means blessing, and sva, to you. So it means blessing to you. Swastika. Yeah. So in the name of religion, if we preach atheism, that's an example. In the name of religion, if we preach atheism, that is more dangerous than an ordinary street atheist. So an ordinary street atheist who's standing on a box or on the street corner telling something, people just walk past, or maybe they listen for a few minutes. They don't take it very seriously. But you're saying this is Vedic teaching, then the people will listen to that, and that's more dangerous, because they're using the authority of the Vedas to give a wrong conclusion. The wrong conclusion means everybody merges into God, everything becomes one. So if everything is one, it's like everything and nothing is the same, isn't it? Like that. So nothing is Buddhism, Nirvana, or everything is Brahma Nirvana sort of thing. So similarly, in the name of civilization, they're doing what is shameful even to the animal of the jungle. It should be even for the animal of the jungle. It is not even a half-truth. Nothing less than to take them home back to Godhead. That is what is necessary. There's an expression, home comfort. This is probably the first time you mentioned that, this expression, home comfort. There's an expression, home comfort, and it means very sweet. Home means there is mother, there is father, and they know the real necessity of the child. The child may not know that, but those at his home know what is his real interest. His mother, father, and so many affectionate relatives, they know more than the boy himself. So the real necessity is that a person should be guided to their home, and there the whole atmosphere will automatically, he said unconsciously, come to render real help to them. But I put automatically because if you say unconsciously, it means unconscious, But it means it's happening without their conscious knowledge. Yeah. Home means that. And so we must all go back to God, back to home. All the wanderers in the street should be collected and taken home. That was the duty undertaken by Mahaprabhu. And then the devotee asks, Maharaj, sometimes when preaching to the public, we find it very difficult because they don't want to go home. So how should a devotee keep up his enthusiasm for trying? And Guru Maharaj says, by hook or by crook, by any means. It depends upon the capacity of the guide, means the person who's preaching. But somehow to take them home, and he or Krishna knows what is their home comfort. The child may not know, he may be crazy, he may run this way and that, anyway, but towards home. And that is the problem. It makes the situation very complex. Otherwise it would have been very simple. But somehow to manage to take them towards their home, it is the responsibility of the guide, and according to their capacity, the real result will come and have its effect. It is the guide's special capacity and also their inspiration, the delegation of the Lord. Both of these combined create the specific characteristic in an acharya talking. And then he quotes this English proverb, rank is but the guinea stamp, man is the gold for that. There may be so many administrators, the district magistrates, the judge, and so on, but rank is one thing, and the man is another. So the inner capacity and also the delegation. Both of those combined, that is what is effective. When he says delegation from the Lord, it's coming down, inspiration, coming to the person, the preacher. The personal characteristic of the preacher and also the delegation, delegated power of the Lord. How much power is delegated to him? The combination of these produces the desired result. And then there's a verse which I have to research. Yagya vata vaishe bhakti pravataite. That's what it sounded like, but I have to look it up. Mahaprabhu recommended Rupa Goswami to Svarup Damodar. He is the fittest person to deal with the devotional scriptures. So I've inspired him, I've delegated my ability to him, and now you also do so. In this way, Mahaprabhu requested Svarup Damodar also, whatever you've got, please transfer that in him. That means Raghunath Das Goswami, I have to put in there. Right? So Mahaprabhu, Svarup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami. That was the... He's a very worthy person. He can manage it and distribute it very well. I've given all my suggestions to him, and I want that you also give what you have to him. And then he will produce it. He will prepare it in a very befitting way as devotional scripture and distribute it. And then the devotee asks, we know that Krishna is coming through the Acharya, and then he's going to say something, but Guru Maharaj speaks. That means his power. Krishna, in this connection, means his delegated power, his potency. Krishna is extending his potency, and Krishna's potency are almost one and the same. And then the devotee says, the Shastras also say that by a moment's association with the pure devotee, one can reach the highest perfection. Srila Guru Maharaj, yes, but perfection in the infinite is a relative term. And he laughs. See, these are all very new concepts at this time. We're kind of used to it now, yeah? Mm-hmm. You know, relativity in the absolute. We never really heard about this in ISKCON at that point. Mm-hmm. So he says, you know, perfection in the infinite is a relative term. Although Srila Prabhupada, he mentioned it in his books also. He talks about perfect, more perfect, most perfect, like that. But doesn't go into it so much. So he says, so when Krishna is by the side of Radharani, he is Swayam Bhagavan. He is the fullest Krishna, the most perfect Krishna. But then there is also Prabhava Vikash, Prabhava Vilas. There's gradation in Krishna also. What to speak of human beings and devotees. Gradation is always there. We are limited beings, so we are encouraged to look, to try to catch the infinite as much as you can. In this way we are encouraged to see in the Acharya the highest teachership. But what is our capacity? We will try our utmost to see in this way. Still, how much can we extend ourselves? Still, we are encouraged. Whatever you can see, that to the limit of your understanding, that is the absolute. And with this consciousness, go forward. And when you will reach that point, then there also you will find something more. So again, go forward. We may think the sun is very near, but if we begin our journey towards it, we'll find, oh, it is here. Oh, now I must have to go further. It is here. And so on and so on. It is like catching the moon for the child. The father says, the moon is nearby. I'm getting it for you, my boy. Don't cry. So always the encouragement is there. It is very near. Durge Bhavaya Masivanityas verse. Which means that the truth is revealed in installments, gradually. The truth is revealed, is given by installment, but the fullest encouragement should be given to the child to finish at his present school of study, and then when he's done so, he will have further education in the college. The encouragement to collect all of his energy and utilize it in his present point of progress, to go so far not more. And then, when in his progress, he will discover his own taste, and he will go further and further, with no finish, no end. And as much progress as he makes, so much he will be desperate, and he will feel disappointment. I'm not getting anything. It is sweet, so sweet, I cannot taste even a drop. Na premigandosti darapi me haro. That's what Lord Chaitanya said when the people were saying how he was such a great devotee and had so much love for Krishna. He said, Na premigandosti darapi me haro. I don't even have a taste, but actually gand means a scent. Scent becomes before the taste, isn't it? What to speak of a taste, not even a scent. I don't have of that prema. And I'm just showing myself to the public, demonstrating so many tears and physical exhibitions for name and fame, he told. As much as the soul will advance, as much as they are in consciousness of the infinite, so much they think themselves nothing, as infinitesimal. As much progress as he makes, he finds it is much further and so much more. Oh, the infinite is so big, so big. I did not know that the infinite is so big. There's no circumference. Nowhere is there circumference, but the center, it is everywhere. Yeah, he said actually, nowhere circumference, everywhere center, but to put it. And then the devotee says, so this process, this progress, is going on eternally? Yes, it is going on, but it is the lake of nectar, so there's no possibility of any loss. There's no possibility of being a loser, that I'm not reaching to the extremity, the end of this, so I'm lost. No. It is ever more tasteful, more energy-giving, more hope-giving, and encouraging. One cannot live without it. The soul feels he's not attained anything, but still he cannot stop his journey. He's sure to go on, more and more. That is the very nature of the journey. And sweetness also, it is also of infinite character. As much sweetness the soul has, he wants more. In this way, everything is infinite. That is Vaikuntha. Kuntha means limit, so Vaikuntha means no limit, unlimited. From the narrow, selfish conception of life, we are to merge into the wider conception of the universal flow. We may think that by doing so, we shall lose our position. But when we identify with that ocean of nectar, we find that we are not losing our position, but rather we are progressing. We are in the process of acquiring a higher position. So we must go further and always attain a higher position. But I have to put it in such a way that it doesn't sound like position, as in name and fame, position, but means some location in relation to the absolute. Yeah, an adjusted position.
This is a very nice part. This endless, although you feel I'm nowhere, still you cannot give up. Still, there's some sweetness even in that you think, oh, I'm so far away. I have not learned anything.
Yeah, that's a good example of the sun, isn't it? Because, the sun looks like a golden disc. If you look with your eyes, maybe the size of an orange, You think, oh, it's pretty close, actually. But when you actually start going toward it, it's a long journey. Yeah. Although we don't really believe it's 93 million miles away. They keep changing it, but anyway, that's what they say. Because, anyway, that's a whole other subject. I don't want to get into that, but Srila Prabhupada said on one talk that it's very simple. Every culture in the world and every country in the world, when they say the days of the week, it goes the first Sunday, right? So counting from where we are on the earth, Sunday, then Monday, that means first sun, then moon, So sun is close, then the moon, then Tuesday is Mars, then Mercury, and the planets of the days. That's obvious. Sun is, that's the order, you know. But it's maybe a different way of calculating, but so that is the process of die to live. As much as we are eliminating, losing our present position, so much we are making progress, and we will feel it. Progress means to move ahead. The taste is there, and through that we get more life. So die to live. So death, so-called death, is encouraged by the gain of the life, the vitality. The more we die, the more we live. We can feel it. And we can't leave this campaign. We can't abandon it, because the inner feeling is there.
Can I ask something? But in that eternal, infinite process, if you feel that it is just what you have learned, it is nothing, how can you then feel that you make some progress? If you see, oh no, it's endless, it's nothing. And I thought I conquered something, but it's so much more.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the thing, it's that you simultaneously feel that kind of maybe disappointment, but at the same time also encouragement to continue. So the thing is, if a person was doing this on their own, yes, that could be a cause of discouragement and they might leave it. But in association of devotees and scriptures and the various aspects of spiritual life, which are all sort of nourishing that, you know, then there's never any blank, any vacancy, you know. So devotees encourage each other. If one is feeling a bit depressed, the other one will encourage them. Another time that one may also feel depressed and he can encourage them, you know. So this way, by mutual help, devotees go on in association, and the whole system continues. Like in one example, Guru Maharaj gave the Napoleonic chair. I'm sure you, apparently it's in the Sermons 1, and apparently at that time in the war, and they were because they're on campaign and marching and fighting, and there's not enough time to sleep properly. So they would sit like that. One would sit on the lap of the other, and they will sit on the lap of the other, and they would go around, and they will be in like a circle like that, and supporting each other, and they can take some rest, you know. Do you get it?
They get warm like this.
And warm.
Yeah.
That's the Napoleonic chair.
It was winter, and
Yeah.
the Russians, they were very terrible people. They burned everything. So they were going backwards and burning anything in the way. And then the exhausted army moving forward and doing nothing.
Right.
So they had to
Yeah, and Napoleon was such a powerful personality. Of course, he was a Republican. He was anti-monarchy. And generally speaking, traditionally, the monarchy has been associated with the church, you know. But he was a Republican. So what happened that when he got captured, and for a period of time he was brought to London, and this is Guru Maharaj telling, and they put him in an iron cage in the public, right in the centre of London, like probably in Whitehall, you know, the big road there. So the people walk past and see him. The idea was they thought he'd be humiliated, but then they found he's actually preaching to the people. You should rise up and take the power in your own hands, you know. And so they quickly had to get rid of him, you know, take him away. Such a personality, yeah.
This Prahlad Maharaj, when was he thrown to the jail with he was growing up with the young women kids.
Yeah.
He also started to preach to them. And,
Yes.
Those who have charmed by some idea, they can't resist but sharing it with those who are around them.
Correct. That's right. That's right. So you're saying all the other campaigns are all partial, and because they're partial, and a half-truth is worse than a lie. Because a lie, you can look at it and say, oh, you can recognise it and identify it as wrong, and say, oh, that's a lie, that's wrong. But a half-truth, that's more deceptive. That can deceive more. So the all these campaigns for family interest, social interest, national interest, in terms of the material world, and they have their place, even in Varnashram, as Arjuna's arguments to Krishna there, etc. But from the Guru Maharaj is talking from the absolute viewpoint. It's sort of like saying if someone's in the prison, we're in the prison or the hospital of the material world, and then we try to make the conditions as nice as possible in the prison or the hospital, then you would tend to forget that while you're there, or that it's a condition of suffering and that you're supposed to be there for being rehabilitated. And you can say, oh, then, we can have a nice time and enjoy ourselves here. So that's like a lie, that's very deceptive, Not that it shouldn't be done, but at the same time, the absolute goal of to go back home, back to Godhead, that should be preached, and that should be the main thing, so that's the point. And
But Maharaj, isn't it so that, of course, some people have very good, extraordinary karma, that everybody in the material world with sort of mixed karmic situation, it's all the time reactionary. So what they're enjoying, or they're controlling, trying to control their lives, not seeing it being controlled by the world. It's reactionary, right? So it's not even so good anyway. It's reactionary.
yeah,
So
that's the point, isn't it? Yeah.
because you were saying that they're thinking it's a good life, but it's not a good life.
Yeah, it's
By living a happy, good life, you would have to inevitably exploit so many living entities around you that by living a good life, you will make a bad life for a lot of living entities.
yeah.
So therefore, even the best life we possibly imagine in this realm is closely related to suffering of others. And those who are conscious of the fact that others are suffering, that totally spoils their taste for it.
Yeah, it's because the Srimad Bhagavatam says, like a healthy life is desirable for the purpose of practicing Krishna consciousness. Healthy mind, healthy body. It's not that we say we neglect anything, it's so but if it eclipses the real purpose of life, which is to go back to Godhead, then that's not good. It's giving to forgetfulness of that. So like we need food, shelter, clothing, the basic necessities of life, and that's you always have this dichotomy, of what level are you going to engender in people or encourage, because too little people are suffering, then how they practice spiritual life, because the whole consciousness then is directed towards how to get food, how to get clothes, how to get employment, isn't it? But then too much opulence as well, that leads to forgetfulness as well. So that's why the earth plane, the Bhumandala, is said to be the best location universally for spiritual life, because there's suffering and happiness in both existing. There's enough suffering that if you're conscious, you're aware that birth, old age, disease and death, Dukhalayam Shashvatam, that's in Bhagavad Gita, the nature of the material existence is that. There's enough suffering that can make you aware of that and maintain your awareness of that. At the same time, there's enough enjoyment or happiness or pleasure that if you want to go in that direction and forget about God, you can also. Yeah, so heavenly planets, so enjoyment, can't think of God. Hellish planets, too much suffering, can't think of God. Here is good, because, it's the nature of the middle.
Maybe I can speak in the highest planes of material world. There's also devotees doing service, like Sattva-loka.
Yes, they're but they don't. It's a little bit different in the realms of the celestial realms. They're called Sakama devotees. They're devotees, but they also involved with their life, material life, very much. In the heavenly planets. So they also are hankering for the opportunity to engage more exclusively if they're conscious. And they have also, we shouldn't think that it's not a great life, because they're also Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punav Avatanojana, the highest planet of Brahma, down to the lowest, all the places of suffering, birth and death, still going on, existing. That's coming up in this next one. I was going to read on there about Lord Brahma also. He's in the relativity of this mortality, action and reaction.
So. But they are more beautiful, I think, right?
Of course.
The higher planetaries, they're more beautiful.
Always young and dying.
Yes, you can live 100 years, and 100 celestial years, of course, and you don't get grey hair. You don't perspire. There's no smell in the body, and there's unlimited opportunity of sense enjoyment, and all of these things.
Good sense of humour.
Pardon?
Good sense of humour. Good
sense of humour, but the thing is, they're also fighting. Fighting. There's envy. I mean, can you imagine, Indra? He's sometimes violating the wives of different rishis and sages. Becoming intoxicated by his power, and thinking he can do whatever he wants.
They were fighting with Arjuna because of the flower.
The Parija, no, from heaven, So it's all going on there, this thing, so. So this is kind of relevant to that. This is a little other bit, because that goes on a lot. It goes on that talk about that thing about the progress and the development and the taste. So, and he says here, we in the divine realm we will not think ourselves to be a master. Rather, we shall be very eager to consider ourselves to be a slave there. That plane is so high, there is a competition in the conception of slavery to be the slave of the slave of the slave. If we have enough boldness to sacrifice ourselves to the extreme, then we can hope to enter and to live in that domain. There is Hegel's expression, die to live. This conception, the conception underlying this is very broad and bold, and a very deep meaning. The scriptures and saints ask, are you ready to die? So in other words, only if you completely die can you completely live. There's a saying that Jesus said, only if the grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, then it can give a harvest of 100-fold, So that's like die to live.
But is it related to ego?
What?
Is it related to ego?
Yeah, both ways. It's talking about the death of the men, not just physical. He's going to talk about that. It'll come. So he says, the scriptures and saints ask, are you ready to die? Then we can recommend a land where you can live. But are you bold enough to die? That there is nothing worth living for here in this plane of Maya illusion. Have you come to such a conclusion that every particle here is worthless and it is also mischievous? Have you come to realize that? If you think that this world is not worth living in at all, then you'll easily agree to die wholesale, and you'll be given the opportunity of living a proper life after death. Life after death. Because they're saying that is really life after death. Everybody's talking about, is there life after death? Yeah.
But this is very important.
There's a consciousness.
To really to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So but that's the real meaning of life after death. Doesn't mean like, do we exist after death? Does our soul go on existing, or is everything finished, or is a part of our being continues after? So they think life after death. But this is the real meaning. Life after death means that you die as we are, the ego and the mental world, to live in the world of service. Yeah. So die to live, and Krishna is for himself, not for any other. And then he says, for any ghost. I'll have to find a way to put that in. Saying for any ghost-like persons like us. It means like in relation to the ultimate reality of Krishna is the reality. So we are very tiny, insignificant souls. So like by comparison, we're like ghosts. So Krishna is not. He's not for the ghosts. He's for himself.
Is it because our body is made of an expectation?
Yeah, there's different ways you can. Sure, different ways you can interpret that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, ghost means not substantial, very ephemeral. Our existence through so many incarnations. Which life is the real us? There's one place in the Bhagavatam where, it's asking, to whom does this body belong? Does it belong to the parents who, gave it birth? Or does it belong to the ancestors, before them, the generations? Or does it belong to the master who feeds it? If one is doing a job, like serving someone, they're providing food, clothing, does it belong to them? Or does it belong to those who give it knowledge, the rishis, the sages? Who does it belong to? It belongs to Krishna, of course. So he is for himself. He is so dignified in every atom of his plane, is so dignified that they should all be regarded with honour. The soil there is such. Do you like to live in that soil, to become a slave there? In Milton's poem, Paradise Lost, there is the opposite statement. It is better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. You've heard that. That is Satan's opinion. But really it is just the opposite. It is better to serve in heaven than to reign in hell. The opposite of the satanic doctrine. And that was Paradise Lost, because Adam and Eve lost their faith in Sharanagati, surrender. Their faith in the truth of surrender was disturbed by Satan, and they came to live with their own freedom and free judgment. And so they had to come down into the world of calculation by one's own self, one's individual free will, and under their own responsibility. And so they had to earn to eat, to labour and live. And in paradise, without labour, sustenance would come. When Adam and Eve were in a surrendered position, no labour was necessary, but automatically everything was provided for them. There the soul does not require any food to maintain its material body, but it has its spiritual eternal body, and there with no necessity of any addition of anything from the outside to keep up its vitality. That is the surrendered, pure spiritual life. Jai, the life of the soul. But when they came to use their free choice, instead of that, they entered the world of labour and live. So now they had, instead of everything just provided automatically, spontaneously, without even their asking it or even probably desiring it, it just was there. Now they had to labour and live. To get something, they had to labour, the quotation in Genesis is, man would have to live by the sweat of his brow. And Satan, he says, and Satan was at the back. So I have to find a way, because if you read that in the book, and Satan was at the back. Sounds funny, But it means Satan was behind this, that Satan was there, behind this. He tempted them. Why are you a slave? There is the tree of knowledge. You must take from that. We souls in the world are very much enamoured of knowledge, but Srimad Bhagavatam has discarded that. Don't rely on your knowledge. But the fruit of the tree of knowledge was tasted by first Eve and then by Adam. And that tree of knowledge is dangerous. It brought them down to the world of calculation. The tree of knowledge means we shall be the judge, the final judge of what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. And
then you can go astray again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you become egoistic again, right?
Yeah, and and there's many examples. Oh, anyway, so the world of surrender is the higher society, the society of the good, where there's no deception, no hypocrisy, and no conspiracy. So knowledge, calculation of what is good, what is bad, that is meaningless there. But there is an automatic flow of goodness in the whole atmosphere. No doubt, no suspicion, and no meanness to cheat one another. That is there in the lower part of the spiritual abode in Vaikuntha, and higher again in Golok. It is more beautiful, more loving, more sustaining, and more sweet and ecstatic. So what is necessary is practical faith in that sort of life, the charm of that sort of life. Sarvadhamam parityaja mama ekam sharanam braja. In the Bible there is the history of the fall, but it is not described very clearly or specifically how the soul is going up toward the Lord. It is vague, only that the Son of God has come to take souls again up to the divine abode. The fall of Adam and Eve, how that came about, that is very clear. But how the soul is taken from this plane to that, there's not any clear or explicit description, nor how the souls are existing there in that higher plane. There are so many souls who, like Christ, have full faith in God's land, God's action, and they treat all the wealth, the prosperity and the charm of this world of enjoyment of no account. They will trample it under their feet. They have died to this world. I resign all covetable posts in this world, however great, of kingship, leadership, or the charm of a lover like Romeo or a beloved like Juliet. All is dismissed. I am ready to dismiss all these things for a higher life, a life mystic, unknown, a sweet, sweet life, a sweet home. And then he gives a little example here from his own experience here. Bhagat Singh, who was one of the leading anarchists in Punjab, and he was tried and condemned to capital punishment, a death sentence, obviously in time of the British, yeah. When one gentleman asked him, "The day of your death is drawing near. How do you feel?" Because I have to put that in, how do you feel? Because Guru Maharaj just said, one gentleman asked him, "The day of your death is drawing near." And he replied, but it means like, how do you feel? Yeah? He replied, "I'm very eager to see the afterlife. This life is finished for me completely. I have no charm for this life that is finished. Now I'm eager to see the afterlife." So he expressed this. So
an anarchist or
an anarchist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to put in there, he expressed this sentiment. So that's like a laudable sentiment, okay? So that's appreciable that he, But then Guru Maharaj says, but Bhagat Singh didn't know that for him, the afterlife is also similar. How can it be, the anarchist's afterlife, how can it be anything very good? Then he explains, he has attraction for this mundane world, and he cannot tolerate another's ownership here, and he wants to snatch the kingship, the leadership of this material world from him. So with such charm for this material world, what kind of afterlife he will have to see? Can it be anything very glorious? And then he gives a verse of Avincha Chamangalam. Now goes Karmanam Parinam Intat Avincha Chanam. I have to look the verse up. All achievements, all positions in this world should be seen neglectfully. What he said was, are of a very neglectful dignity. Very nice expression, but in English it doesn't. So you'd say, all achievements, all positions in this world should be seen neglectfully, unworthy of dignity, something. Even the post of Brahma, the creator and master of this material world, is himself within its relativity, which is mortal and nasty. His position is also condemnable, what to speak of ordinary persons like us. When even the creator of this whole mundane world is also surrounded by inauspicious reactionary consequences of mortal life, then what is our position? It is so meagre. And next, after Brahma, there is Shiva. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I do not care for material comfort, but independent of material comfort, as a soul, I can live. That temperament of Shivoham, I don't care for any material achievement, I am sufficient in myself. That is only the marginal position. I am self-sufficient, Atmaram. I don't require any exploitation of this world, nor of anyone. But above that marginal plane, there is a domain so high and so charming that when the soul comes in connection with it, he feels, oh, I want to enter as a slave into this holy and magnanimous land. I want to be a member there, even the lowest member of that land. He will feel that even an ant's position in that noble domain is something to be envied. That is Vaikuntha. And again, over Vaikuntha is Golok. That is the deeper, the most comprehensive and subtlemost, all-pervading plane. It is Go-Loka, Go-Loka, a solid circle, the highest and subtlemost plane ever to be found. It is the foundation of all different varieties of planes of experience. Golok is beautiful, it is love. Beauty and love, these are similar, and they are sweet and beyond power-seeking. And this has been, he says, this has been definitely brought down for us by Mahaprabhu, but it means brought down purely, unadulteratedly, without being mixed or contaminated on the way. This has been brought down for us by Mahaprabhu Nityananda and Srimad Bhagavatam, the last treatise of Veda Vyas, the giver of the greatest magnitude of revealed truth in this world. Revealed truth in its different forms, in its greatest magnitude and details, was given by Veda Vyas, by Vyasadeva here in India, from Badarik Ashram. And the key to that, what he said was the key to that cabin. So I put the key to that most valuable treasure chest. Yeah? So it means it's locked away somewhere. And you need...
It's not a cave.
It's not a cave.
It is the substance.
Yeah, he means the Bhagavatam knowledge of the Bhagavatam. The key to that cabin, he said. The key to that cabin. The key to that chest. Because another place he says, our wealth is in the treasure chest, is kept by our gurus, and we inherit that. We are the inheritors of that, yeah. So the key to that most valuable, or you could just say the key to that most valuable treasure, was given first to his son Shukadev. And Shukadev tried to impress the then scholars of India with that highest ideal of the whole theological world, and did so successfully. And there was a second sitting, there was another sitting in Naimisharanya where 60,000 Brahmin scholars met just before the beginning of the Iron Age, this Kali Yuga. And at that gathering was one special scholar who had been present in the assembly of Shukadev, and he was Shruti Dhara, that is, one who by hearing only once remembers, he said, remembers eternally. Yeah. His name was Sutta Ugrashrava, meaning one whose oral reception is of the highest degree, extraordinary. And at Naimisharanya, Sutta Goswami distributed the Bhagavat, or this knowledge, to the scholars there. So there were 4 sittings completed. The first from Narad to Vyasadev, second from Vyasa to Shukadev, third Shukadev to Parikshit in the scholarly assembly at Shukatala, and the fourth at Naimisharanya from Ugrashrava Sutta to Shonaka and the Rishis. Then Vyasadeva composed 3 verses, introductory shlokas, and with that the whole composition, he said, was taken to the market. But I don't think that sounds very dignified, in the writing. So it means it was distributed to the world, or to the people. And so then he gives the 3 verses, and these represent Sambandha Abhidaya Prayojan, as you know. Oh, it's already past 8, so there's loads more. You can finish, yeah.
Next Tuesday more.
Yeah, more, yeah. I'll have no more.
You can go tomorrow.
Yeah,
Pardon?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, every day.
You here? You come tomorrow, Mark.
I'm not sure. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I can't guarantee. I don't want to say yes and then not come. Exactly annoying, isn't it? But I could do, yeah. Also, anyway, okay. Who's going to chant the prayers?
Ramana didn't sing yet today.
Jannam jannam Radha Krishna Chalu Mukhoila Anande Balo Hari Bhaja Vrindavana Ashi Guru Vaishnava Pati Nitai Ashi Guru Vaishnava Pati Padma Gauriya Nam Sankirtan Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol. Nitya Gaura Hare Bol, Hare Bolo, Hare Bola, Nitya Gaura Hare Bol. Nitya Gaura Hare Bol, Hare Bolo, Bolo, Hare Bol, Hare Bol. Jai Srimad Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Giriraj Prabhu ki Jai, Mantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Jai Shri Rupa Guru Varga ki Jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashna Bhagavan Shingadev ki Jai, Bhakti Pravashi Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai, Samavita Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai, Kolka Jels ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Gaura Premanande Haribo. Vrinda ki Jai.